What's up, everybody? Your boy Who Jogging back with another classic. I'm telling you, I got you, man. Hey, listen, it's Friday. You ain't got no job. Well, you should be off work. Well, you about to be off work soon. You ain't got nothing to do, man. So I got you, man. It's gonna be another classic with a capital C. I got my guy Malik Rose coming on. Before I get to that, y'all know what to do. Y'all hit the like button. Y'all subscribe if you're new. Let's get some more bodies in here. And I got my man, no guarantees, coming up like early bird status, showing with the good old hoops get ball, whatever the hell that is you got up there. But anyway, without further ado, let me bring the guest of the hour, man. You may know him as Malik Rose. I know him as Malik. Malik, what's up, my man?
What's up, Franks? How you doing?
Doing well, man. How you living?
I'm doing all right, man. After the draft last night, I'm doing very well. On cloud number 99 right now.
Cloud number 99. Okay. Well, let's go and talk about it a little bit, man. So, what you like going on in Philadelphia, man? I know.
You know, we came up short in the Super Bowl. You know, that was I don't know. I think the turf had more to do with that than our players, but I'm gonna leave it there. But NFL draft was last night, so I didn't think Jalen Carter would slip the way he did. And for him to fall to us at 9, reuniting him with his old buddy Jordan Davis on already the best defensive line in the game, it's just going to spell problems for first the NFC East and then the rest of the NFC and then the AFC champion.
Well, we shall see. And I listen, man, as much as I want to hate on that, I did get a chance to walk the field in the Super Bowl because I covered it this year.
Oh, okay.
That field had a lot of chunks in it. I ain't going to lie to you.
Dude, I was so upset because every time our pass rush looked like we got him, we take a step and we just slip, and then our running game. So anyway, they beat us, but to this day, I still don't think that team, the Chiefs, were better than us.
Listen, if I didn't walk the field, I would give you no credence to that. But walking that field, I listen, man. I'm a Eagle hater all the way, but I got to give you that. So listen, but disadvantage, y'all lost. Just saying.
Yeah, we lost. But the thing that bothered me even more, the NFL said they worked 2 years on that field. They used to roll it out into the sun, bring it back, and they cultivated it and massaged it, and it was terrible on Super Bowl.
It looked like it.
But it was anyway. Good to be on the show. Good to see you.
Go ahead, Malik.
I just said, good to be on the show, man. Good to see you. I'm excited.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Man, and appreciate y'all again. Y'all hit the like button, man. We're going to go through a myriad of things. We have Malik Rose, expert opinion on a myriad of things. And so let's get it started with topic number 1, man. So the insights and takeaways from the year 2023. Because we talked about how the COVID protocols last time we talked kind of messed up you guys, kind of shooting at the hip, improvising, as it were, with certain things. How was 2022, 2023 as a collective year from your perspective, Mr. President of Operations?
Actually, not yet. I'm the president. I'm like the vice president, if you want.
VP of Operations. So sorry.
Yeah, so I'm a head of basketball operations. Sharif Abdul Rahim is the president of basketball operations. That's true. So no, this season, 2022 and 23 was a great season. Another great season for the G-League, man. The last few years, and this year, I'm about a year and like 4 months, almost a year and 4 months on this job working with the G-League. So, I can only claim part of this. Part of it or whatever. So a couple of years ago, I'm sorry, I'm tongue-tied. A couple of years ago, COVID wrecked all of sports. It wrecked the entire planet. And, the G-League stood tall standing up the NBA. So we've had a lot of great years in succession, 20, 21, 22. And, we provided we did what we were designed, we were created to do, which is support our parent league. And, we supported the NBA the last few years with resources on the court and off the court. We sent up players, we sent up coaches, we sent up referees, we sent up medical personnel. So when the NBA needed us most for the last 3 or 4 years, or I say 2 or 3 years, we stood tallest. So collectively, we're very proud of that in the G League. This past year, however, this is like maybe the first year we've kind of gotten back to some sense of normalcy in the G League, in that this is the first year all of our teams were able to open up their arenas at full capacity to fans, and we kind of had our medical mandates and rules were at their lowest. We didn't have to mandate masks and such, so we got as close to normal as we've been in a very long time. And in doing so, we had some great events. The G League is is a league that has so much potential, and we started to capitalize on that. You saw a lot of things. You saw the G League presence at All-Star Weekend and NBA All-Star Weekend, and then you saw the G League center stage when we put arguably it'll probably be the number 1 and 2 pick in this year's NBA draft. Victor Wembanyama and Scoot Henderson played against each other for 2 exhibition games back in October, and we were the center of not just the G League world but the NBA world. We had representatives, decision-making representatives from every NBA team descended upon our G League teams to watch us. So tremendous year for us. We continue to grow. Our team collectively continues to do great things and put the G League in a position to be successful today and beyond.
Yeah, I like the way you commented, because last time we talked about when the G League started, man, again, you could pay like $125 to get a tryout, and back in 2006, if we're being honest. And now it's like a tentacle of the NBA, like a legit tentacle to the NBA from a trial standpoint, from a talent, and a coaching. You mentioned about Nick Nurse and about Adrian Griffin getting the opportunity to come from the coaching ranks of the G League and move up to the next level. So it's a real farm league now.
Yeah.
I guess so. Going forward from a 5-year plan, where do you see it going? Because you mentioned about Vic and Scoot playing against each other. Mm-hmm. Where do you see the G League in the next 5 years as far as being a sustainable tentacle as far as moving things to the NBA?
Man, the sky's the limit for the G League right now. On top of just the changes, there's a lot of synergy between the G League teams and the NBA teams. We just announced, you saw last week, Portland Trailblazers, one of our 2 remaining teams that don't have a G League affiliate, Portland and Phoenix. Portland just announced that they were starting a G League team for the 23-24 season. So now we're at 29 of our NBA teams with a 1-to-1 affiliate to a G League team, and that's great. And we anticipate Phoenix is going to be within the next year or 2, starting up their G League franchise. So we'll have all 30 of our NBA teams with a G League affiliate, which is going to be tremendous. But as far as like the synergies with the NBA, I mean, it continues to grow. I mean, you look at the new collective bargaining agreement that was just ratified at the NBA level, and you see, I'm still getting my hands wrapped around it because they still haven't, given us the form we can read and find out what changes were made. But I've learned a third 2-way spot. So that's just, NBA teams see the value in the 2-way contract and the 2-way player from the G League, what it can do for their teams. So they've not only increased the number of 2-way spots, I hear the money is going up as well for 2-way contracts and base G League contracts. So lots of things happening for the G League. And then, just to kind of sum it up, there's so many things going on, but what excites me is, the landscape of just amateur basketball, I'd say. And we all know how NIL has changed the whole landscape and created new pathways for amateur players to get to the NBA. We have NCAA, we got the G League, we have now G League Ignite. They could always go overseas to Australia and the like. But with the G League and these 1-to-1 relationships with the NBA teams that I talked about, we feel like we're in a great position to get the best amateur talent because we're out of all those avenues and pathways I talked about, we're the closest to the NBA, which is where all of these guys want to get to. So we're really excited about what the future holds for the G League. And we just got to keep working it every day, trying to achieve goals and just create the best league possible with the most fan engagement and the most, fan viewership as possible.
I love that because, again, the G League has to be its own entity, but also obviously an offshoot of the NBA. Well, not offshoot, but under part of the NBA. Mm-hmm. And I like the fact that you guys are trying to be innovative in that capacity to make it a viable product. Yep. And something I thought you said was important is that of all these other entities like the NBL in Australia, playing in whatever league overseas and then playing NCAA, you guys are the closest leg to the NBA, literally. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So that is a salient point. And I think that leaning into that was going to help y'all a lot more because some people, people know it and they're subconscious that, oh yeah, the G League is a part of the NBA, but they don't feel it.
Right.
And as you make that more, real to people, then that becomes more of an actual thing. And I gotta give Gray Fox some credit. He has some really good questions. So with that being said, and in courtesy of Gray Fox, he said, will the G League play against the Euro League?
What's up, Gray Fox? Nothing's off the table. That's something that we kind of experimented with this year in the game against the Metropolitans '92 with Victor Wembanyama. It was a great game, man. On top of us, like the energy that was in the building from the NBA contingent, fans were into it. You had the number one and the number two pick in this coming year's NBA draft squaring off against each other here in the U.S. for 2 games. So we saw the energy and the excitement that created. So we'd be fools to not want to, capitalize on that and continue to grow that. We're looking at more games in the future, and the international component of it is something we definitely want to tap into. You look at the NBA and how many stars in the NBA have international backgrounds, international roots, and that's just great for growing the game. That's just more countries that we can, take the game of basketball to. And we want to do that in the G League as well. So I don't know when it's going to happen, but it is definitely part of our vision and our long-term plan, short-term plan as well. We want to get as many games with our top talent against the international top talent, because I think it's just going to make for a great basketball atmosphere.
I think that's a really good direction from the fact that people are now more open to more privy, let me say, to the international play.
Mm-hmm.
When I played 2007, 08 through 09 when I was overseas, 07 through 09.
Mm-hmm.
Overseas, people knew about overseas. Like it wasn't nothing foreign, no pun intended. But it wasn't like things that people really had like it's like there's something you did if you didn't make the NBA. You go overseas. Like it just was one of those things. Now it's like guys from overseas are coming in and being staples in the NBA.
Yeah.
Your Jokic's of the world, your Luka Doncic's of the world.
Yeah.
Back a generation, your Serge Ibaka's of the world, so on and so forth. Giannis Antetokounmpo. We can keep naming names.
Mm-hmm.
So now I think that's a really good move for you guys to pivot and to kind of understand that there's a lot of cross pollination going on between the youngsters there and the guys here on on U.S. soil.
Yeah.
You can get more of that competition at the lower level or the younger level, and now you be familiar with these guys. Because people are going to follow Victor Wembanyama everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
But now you're playing against, G League, Unite players.
Yeah.
Ignite players, rather. Now it's like, okay, I know all these guys on this roster because I came to watch Victor, but I came to see all these other guys as well. So, great strategy, in my opinion.
Yeah. So one of the steps we're doing, I don't know if you read about it, but we just announced it last week on the heels of the Portland news. We're going to have the G League is instituting an international draft, and it's going to be in June. More information will come out on it in the coming weeks, but just say if we were able to get Luka on a G League team to do his his amateur years or whatever on a G League team as opposed to his team in Slovenia. Say if we can get like a Nikola Jokic to play his his pre NBA years in the G League. That's what we're working towards, to get the next international stars. We want to keep the domestic stars from going overseas, which is why it was so important for us to, in this new collective bargaining agreement, raise the base salary of the G League players. Because now, if players are making, I think the Exhibit 10 money now is $75,000. So it's $75,000 plus housing and all the stuff you get in the G League. So now maybe we'll keep more of our homegrown talent here in the States playing in the G League as opposed to going overseas. But now we're taking it a step further, and we're looking to get the next best international player, have him come do a year or two in the G League before he gets to the NBA. And we're really excited about that, because we really think that's going to just raise the level of talent in the G League, and that's going to help with people coming to see the games. It's going to help us with get on TV a lot more in primetime slots. So we're working in the G, and being creative, like you said earlier. Like, one of the great things I love about the G is we're able to be innovative. Like, we're able to kind of just throw everything up on a wall and see what sticks, and that's what excites me a lot of times going into work, is like, what crazy thing can I think of next to, just build viewership, build engagement, and build excitement about the G League. And this international draft that's coming up in June, where we're going to hope to get in the first year, maybe top 5, 10 international players, get them to come over and play in the G League and see what happens. It's going to be great, man. It's going to be exciting.
I love that because it's almost like you're reverse doing what the international leagues are doing, kind of almost.
Yeah.
Actually.
Taking our best players for years, and
yeah.
I'm not faulting anybody because money talks. And if we weren't paying, more money like the overseas teams were, I can't fault the domestic, the U.S.-born players from going and getting that bag overseas. But now the bags are a little bit bigger in the States with the increase in salaries in the G League, and we're going to see how that illustrates itself in our rosters this year.
Yeah, I thought that was good. And you kind of covered D-Lob's question about what a regular G League player is making. You kind of covered it making $75K.
Yeah. Well, everything, we're still I haven't gotten all the details of the new collective bargaining agreement yet, but I know what everybody knows. What Woj put out was the Exhibit 10 money, which is the big bonus. That's like, our top players get the Exhibit 10 money, and it's gone up from a $50,000 bonus to a $75,000 bonus. So that's really going to go a long way in keeping a lot of our homegrown talent here in the States. But I think the base salary G League contract is going to go up as well, from $40,500 where it is now to whatever it is I'm going to find out next week. So more to come on that. But this collective bargaining agreement that was just ratified this past week by the players and the owners has a lot of new stuff in it. We're going to get to the bottom of it and keep growing our league.
I like that. You said you mentioned salary plus housing, right?
Yeah, they get housing, and a lot of teams now, with the one-to-one relationship and the synergy between the NBA teams, we're seeing a lot of they get per diem, they get money for food and stuff, but teams with the way they're running, they'll give the players breakfast and lunch. So a lot of times they're just paying for dinners, on their own or cooking dinner themselves. And there are a lot of benefits. I mean, transportation is taken care of. And with the inclusion of, the BPU, that's the Basketball Players Union, that, it's the G League union. They're working for their players, and they're collectively working with us at the league to improve player experience. So a lot of travel amenities are improving, home amenities are improving, locker rooms and arenas. We're doing a lot of work collectively, players and the league working together to improve everything, not just to play on the court, but life for the players, life for the coaches, and business for the league. And it's really fun, man. I enjoy what I'm doing.
I love that because and before I get to that, y'all hit the like button, man. I got Malik Rose. Is it 2 or 3-time NBA champion? I think Dane corrected me last time.
It's two-time, yeah. Two-time,
okay. 2-time NBA champion. And listen, man, where else are you getting this kind of content, man? We're breaking down the idiosyncrasies of international play versus G League. You're not getting this nowhere else. So if it only at least deserve a like, come on now. You tripping. You big tripping. Let me say that.
Definitely.
But as we go forward, yes, I mean, so that was one of the biggest caveats. It's like, because when you play the G League, it's like, okay, you get this salary, but you got to kind of fight for your own. At least that was perception.
Mm-hmm.
So in an overseas game, I know a lot of players, they evaluate, okay, do I get meals? Do I get my car? Do I get lodging? Or am I just getting this money that you say up front and I got to kind of fight for myself? Because, I mean, there are a lot of savage jobs out there that they just are. But you get the chance to play.
Right. I've heard stories. I mean, I would have liked to have played overseas, different points in my career just to get the experience of living abroad, maybe. Yeah. But I've heard some horror stories about being the American on an international team, man. Sometimes, the American gets, not sometimes, I'd say all the time, the American gets blamed for every loss. It's like being a head coach in the NBA. Like when you win a game, it's the star player's fault, or star. It's because of the star player. But when you lose a game, it's because of the head coach. And that's how it is you played overseas, but from the stories I hear from the people I know, it's always the Americans' fault if they do something or if they lose or whatever. So, being able to do this and keep some of the top talent, I'm just really excited, man, because the next thing I really want is like, why can't all G League games be on ESPN2 or maybe even ESPN proper? Like, like that would be the next step for me as far as television. It's just like, can we get on where everybody's coming home right before like an NBA game or something? Hey, the Knicks are playing the Heat in the first round of the playoffs, but let's check out that G League game. Sioux Falls is playing Westchester or something. So, I just get excited about those things, and we want to keep working towards it. But a lot of good things are happening for the G right now.
Yeah, and I like it, man. And I'm gonna share a picture, man. This is me, my last year playing overseas. I was in France. No, I'm sorry, Switzerland.
Okay.
That's, your boy likes to have hair right here. That's my guy DJ Johnson. He played at Colorado.
Okay.
Good dude. But yeah, so when I played there, man, you can see when you got housing, you got food, you got travel, all this stuff is so comfortable as a player.
Mm-hmm.
My first 2 stops before that, not so much. And then, you know what I mean? It affected your psyche. It really did. So I just got to drive home the point that when all those things are covered, when all you got to worry about is the ball.
Yeah.
It changes things. And so I'm glad to see that G League is shoring that thing up. So guys are going out there giving their best effort without worries about stuff going on back home. Well, I ain't got this money. You know how it goes. When they ain't got the
away
bread.
from your family. Being away from your family is tough, man. And, one of my favorite movies in the world, Love and Basketball. I remember where, she was overseas and Sanaa Lathan, and all the TV shows were in Spanish, and it's just like, you can't watch TV if you don't know the language. So hopefully
I live that life.
Hopefully we can just fix that for a lot of players and just keep them home.
I love to hear that because we don't hear the backstories. We don't hear there's not a lot of outlets for people to hear G League idiosyncrasies. Like it's just like, oh, well, it's just whatever perceived value is of G League. Oh, well, whatever. So these conversations are important so people can learn this and tell us other people like, no, G League players, they're actually taken care of. They actually have aspirations to play against this international talent that's taking over, and there's a vision to go forward. So I love the fact that you were encapsulating that with your with your answers.
Thank you.
So question from Gray Fox. You know what? This kind of sounds like pie in the sky, but I kind of like the question.
Yeah.
You get a G League versus NCAA All-Star game. Is there anything in the something like that?
I don't know. Just the first thing. I mean, from a competition standpoint, I'd love to do it. Like I love just the like I'm out there, like I'm playing. But anyway, the hooper in me always just wants to play. So it's like, yeah, if we can, play against somebody, let's get it in. Let's get it on. So I don't know, but the one thing that the first hurdle, I guess, or obstacle to getting that done is like the NCAA is still amateur, and the G League, they're pros. So it's like, how do we get through that hurdle? Maybe NIL changes things. I don't know. I don't take anything off the table, but that one would take a lot of work if we were ever able to get it done.
Yeah, I can see from a liability, from a if you don't make dollars, it don't make sense standpoint. I understand a lot of always mess this word up. Bureaucracy. Oh, I think I hit it. That you got to go through. Well, I'll obliterate that word, man. All right, so appreciate that question. Oh, no guarantees asked, what sort of training is essential for working in the administrative side of the NBA?
Great question. Yeah, I mean, just like with any job, I'd say. I mean, you say essential. I mean, there are a lot of things you can have. Skills that make you stand out. Better than another person. But not without getting into all of that, getting too nuanced into. Like I said, if you're an international scout, do you speak 5 languages? That's one thing that could help. But I would say, seriously, I mean, speaking, especially Mandarin or something, if you speak many languages and you're an international scout, it helps. But the essential thing I'd say for working on the administrative side is, being a people person and networking. Like this job, this little, club or fraternity of sports, NFL, major leagues, NBA, hockey, or whatever. It's like a small group of people, and it's tightly knit, and you got to have relationships. So being able to be in a room and walk that fine line of not taking over the room, but also letting people know that you're there and meeting people, being personable, being open to new people, new thoughts, new ideas. Just being a people person is really essential for working on the front office side, because you're going to deal with people for the same 30 teams. Like everybody's going to be at the same events scouting. Everybody's going to be at the finals. Everybody's going to be talking to the same agents about the same free agents and everything. So the more you're a people person, that helps your ability to get information, and information is key when you're dealing from a front office standpoint, because you have to know what's going on, not only with players, but with owners, coaches, agents, other GMs. Like, you have to know information, and the way to get information is to be a people person and be able to, coexist with other people and have conversations and stuff.
I agree, man. Rubbing shoulders is damn near the whole battle. You got to be able to navigate because, and I'll kind of juxtapose it this way. I don't own an NBA executive position by any stance, but I've gained in the last 2 years of kind of really getting into like covering professional sports. I've made a lot of connections through that, and just like it's almost like if you are a person who is, I guess you carry yourself a certain way, people gravitate towards you. It's funny how that goes.
Well, you just got to be. For me, what I've learned, a lot of people do that, and they do it well, but they're not always genuine. And people, especially players, see through that. If you like, it seems like a simple thing, but just being real, being genuine, and being honest, that's how you're going to not only thrive in this industry, you're going to survive in this industry. There are a lot of bad actors in this business that are only, doing something to get a personal goal or a personal gain.
Yeah.
Telling owners, what the owners want to hear, not what's best for the team, just so they can keep their job and things like that. So, and they're telling players what they want to hear. Oh yeah, come here, you're gonna get 30 minutes a game, and I love you, I love you, I love your wife, I love you this. But then when they sign, it's like, who are you? Just things. People being disingenuous is the fastest way out of this league. And it seems like a simple thing, but it's always the common denominator when it comes to who gets to stay and who has to leave.
Yeah, I like that, man, because people need to see this from your side because you've been a former player, and then now on the executive side, you've seen all facets. So now you know what all entities look like. In short, people clown out when you see a clown. You know when somebody's just like, oh, so
yeah, you're right.
Oh, Malik loves your career, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but can you know what I'm saying?
They're salesmen, and they don't last. Like salesmen, yes, like salesmen probably get the majority of the jobs. That's why you see so much. It's one of the reasons. It's not the only reason. In my, my world, in my mind, that's one of the reasons you see so many bad actors. They'll get a job, but they can't keep a job because it's not built on anything real. They're not speaking the truth. They're not, having those tough conversations and, putting everything out there, hashing through it and moving on. So it's like they'll get a job, but they will not be able to keep it. It's like, you get a job as a player, but you didn't work out to stay in shape. Like you're going to perform terribly when you get in the games and you're going to get cut. Yeah. That's what we're seeing in the front office.
Great analogy. I love that. Okay, so shout out to my guy, my road dog, Between the Game Sports.
Mm-hmm.
And between Will, if you want to hop on, let me know. I'll drop a link for you. It says, explain to up and coming athletes how hard does it make the NBA. You see guys like Carson Edwards of World who can fill it up. You may have meant to put something else right there.
Yeah, I know.
We all know who he is. Mm-hmm. Can fill it up in the G League, but can't maintain a spot in the NBA roster. I also raised you one. What's my man name from BYU? Shooter. White dude.
Oh yeah. He's over in China. Yeah.
I can't think of his name. I just drew a blank.
I know. Little short white dude.
Yeah. Jameer. Not Jameer.
No. Jimmer Fredette.
Huh?
Jimmer Fredette.
Yeah. So,
Jimmer might be getting a little old right now, but he's still getting numbers over in China. But that's a great question because yes, it's hard to make it to the NBA, man. Like it's hard to be a pro. And, I won't go down this tangent, but that's what blows my mind when, players in the league, some people at the league continually try to make barriers to the NBA easier and lower and lower. And we're making the game easier and easier. And it's like, no, these guys are pros. These are the best of the best. It means something to get to the NBA. So it's like, it's supposed to be hard. Anyway, that's a different conversation. Yeah. It's hard to get to the NBA, but yeah, working hard, getting your skills up, shooting all the jumpers, doing all the dribbling and eating right, working out, getting up early, getting to bed early, waking up early and all that stuff. It's hard, but another part that goes into it, and this is why I think it's such a great question because hopefully young players are out there listening. It's one thing to be able to drop numbers and get numbers, but you have to have, in my opinion, you got to be aware of not only who you are as a player, but what this team needs you to be. Carson Edwards could get buckets on pretty much anybody, especially, in college at Purdue and everything. But that may not be his role in the pros. That's not what's going to keep him a pro unless he finds that perfect team, which is very, very hard. Like, we had this discussion years ago. I mean, Lou Williams, shout out to Lou Williams, had a phenomenal career. I mean, he's one of the best ever. But if Lou Williams doesn't, find the Sixers, or that coach doesn't see, no, Lou Williams, he's not a starter. He's best coming off the bench in a feature role. Like, does he have the career he has? So knowing who you are is one thing, and knowing what's going to keep you in the NBA. Like for Carson Edwards, I mean, he didn't find a team that needed instant offense. He wasn't in that role. So can he be a backup point guard that's going to run pick and roll to death, not turn the ball over, is going to pressure the ball and try to disrupt a point guard for 20 minutes a game? One, can he accept that role, or is he in his mind, I scored, a million points at Purdue, I'm better than this guy, I'm going to go out here and get 30. I don't know if that's the case, but I know with a lot of young players, they understand what it takes to get to the NBA, but they don't understand what it takes to get a job in the NBA, or like to get a role and to keep a role and a job on a team. That's the gap for a lot of players.
And listen, man, a guy who we both know personally and very affectionately. Let me play a small clip, and this is going to crystallize what you just said.
And in this corner, and when Devin or Chris throws you this ball, can you make 6 out of 10 shots? I don't care if your mother nor daddy was there. It does not matter.
There you go.
That's not an extra bonus. You're not getting graded on a curve. No one cares.
Listen.
Man, if you ever put that lame duck on anything I say, I'm walking off the show. I will get up and I'll bounce. Do not associate anything I said with that guy, Kane Irvin. No, but that's who I was talking about with Lou Williams. Like, yeah. We talk a lot about that, and we're speaking with the advantage of experience. We've been through it, and I can't fault a 20-year-old who's. I mean, you got to be wired a certain way to make it to the NBA. Like, you got to think that nothing is impossible, and you're going to do it no matter what. And that's what gets you to the NBA. But if you could if these young players, if we could be better as mentors, if we could be better as coaches and connect with them on a level where we can kind of yoke them and kind of tell them, hey, listen, yes, you got this, you got A and B, but this C is what you really need. And know the situation you're going in. Like, you got drafted by Boston. Boston had, I don't know, Kyrie, they had Jason Tatum, they have scorers. What they don't have is a backup point guard that can make a shot when open, pressure the ball, and can organize the team so they get shots without turnovers. There's just stuff like that.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
People need to hear it from your mouth, though, Malik, because I come on there and I tell people, like, less is more sometimes. And, cough, cough. This dude right here. So people don't understand, like, listen, did you see that flash through there?
I didn't see the oh,
right.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest Russell Westbrook fan, have not been for a decade. Less is more sometimes. So if you fill a role for a team, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter about your numbers, your bottom line. I'll give you some names. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, look at a dude like Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves, a dude who could not shoot at Oklahoma. Comes to the NBA, guess what he does? He works on that J. Mm-hmm. He already had the natural basketball instinct. So somebody's going to overpay him. Hoop joggers first. Somebody's going to overpay him for his services because he's playing his ASS off, right?
Yes.
So when guys like that, you come into a space and you just do what you're supposed to do. I'll give you another name. It's almost like a reverberation, but he's still young. Jared Vanderbilt. Yeah. This is a guy who's picking Ja Morant up at full court at about 6'9", and is giving him everything he wants, is putting his team in position to win. You think somebody is not recognizing what Jared can do if you unleash him? You're fooling yourself.
Yeah, but see, he did it a little bit in Minnesota as well. Jared did, as far as accepting his role. Jared Vanderbilt, he was a one and done from Kentucky. 80% of the one and dones from Kentucky are going to go on to the NBA and have some sort of huge role on an NBA team. Chances are, right? So, he wasn't, his career wasn't trending towards being like an offensive juggernaut, so to say.
Well, let me say this real quick. The tweeners from Kentucky don't actually do that. The twins from Houston, Vanderbilt's from Houston too. your boy Kid Gilchrist, and it's another one. The tweeners don't actually fare so well.
I'll give you the twins as far as I forget, the guards, I forget their name. Yeah, but they didn't really. I mean, so maybe a 70%, but I'd say Kid Gilchrist was kind of like Vanderbilt. Because he got a couple contracts. He got one big one.
Yeah, for sure.
He got another like 3-year one after that. But recognizing, all right, they did what it took to get them to the league, but they recognized what they had to do to stay in the league. And Kid Gilchrist was never going to be a shooter. He worked on it to improve his free throw shooting. All right, that helped him a little bit. But but he was a defensive guy, an energy guy, a locker room guy. Like, he did all those things, and he stayed in the NBA for a long time. Got 2 or 3 contracts out of it. So shout out to MKG. Vanderbilt is in the middle of doing that as well.
Oh, for sure.
Just finding out he's an energy guy, and he's one of those. He's a physical specimen. He has the body type and the size and length to guard virtually every position on the floor.
Great.
So him being able to use his size and athletic ability to guard a nemesis in Ja Morant is providing value to the Lakers. But I'm not surprised he's found that niche with the Lakers, because my man D Ham, he's a great coach. He's going to clearly lay it out day one. This is your role. This is what I expect from you. This is your daily routine. This is your practice routine, your game day routine, your off day routine. He's going to clearly lay out everything for his players. So shout out to Vanderbilt for accepting his role and being a star in that role that Coach Ham laid out for him.
Agreed. It's a few other guys I can't name from Kentucky, but those 20 guys tend to have a mixed bag of results.
Yeah, man, I'm forgetting everybody's name.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's like 15,000.
Andrew.
It's the shout out to my guy Will.
Yeah.
He says Aaron and Andrew Harrison.
Yes, Aaron and Andrew Harrison. Right.
I can't think of, like, just draw a blank, man.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
I'm from Houston. I should know better. Like, so many kids come through. But shout out to Sir Tice putting 10 on. He says, salute. I can come on and ask Malik a question. I want to ask a question many won't ask a guy of Malik's stature. Okay. I dropped your link in your text, Tice. So, but you know they get you over here, man. When you put something on it. Dollar bill. Money. Yeah. Money. Yeah.
He said,
they'll never get old, in my mind, at least.
Rapper? Oh, yeah.
They'll never get old to me.
Rest his soul, Bernie Mac.
Bernard Mac, man. One of the funniest dudes.
And Anthony Johnson. Yeah, rest his soul.
And Anthony, yeah, man. Both.
Man. Sad, man.
Yeah, man. All the way sad. So, yeah, Tice, I did drop it to your email. I'm sorry, your text, bro. So, yeah, you definitely welcome. Come on. Yeah. All right, so let's I like where this conversation is going. It's getting very minutia based, and we kind of get into some of the.
Yeah, we had a lot to cover. Sorry, man. I can go on and on. Let's get to the list. Knock it out.
You good.
All right.
Great Five said you wasn't shoot with the gym. Hey, man, it's like that sometimes. No guarantee says great info, Mr. Rose. Hey, man, always.
Man.
Listen, I'm not going to cheat y'all on the content over here, man. I'm going to bring in quality guys. I don't do a lot of streams, but when I do streams, it's people who going to give you something you can take away from the conversation, not just – so I don't have panels like 15,000 dudes just saying anything. It's just not my style. Like, I mean, I'm not – salute to everybody who does that in particular. Man, shout out to my guy. What flight at? What flight? The dude I rock with heavy. Flight just tuned in who in the legend Malik Rose. Yeah, man. Shout out to Flight TV. Y'all go subscribe over there. Flight gonna have everybody up there and they gonna say their piece, and Flight gonna let people rock. And I love Flight for that, but they ain't how I rock over here. Hey, say it's a good or bad thing. That's just how I roll. So y'all hit that like button. So going forward, I like Miak Mike, so I'm gonna let Miak Mike ask this question. Why is Tyreke Evans in the Puerto Rican basketball league and that brother can get buckets for days? Sometimes the NBA ostracizes, blackball certain players. The floor is yours. Just in your opinion, if you don't want to speak on, you don't have to. I'll tell you why, but go ahead.
No, that's a Miak Mike, Morgan State. Okay. I mean, there are a lot of, I don't know if that's 100% accurate. I mean, there's more to that story. I don't know if he's being blackballed by, blackballed per se, but, some of the decisions, everybody, NBA, we see it every day in the news, players on the court, off the court, and players in normal life, people in normal life make mistakes. And I think Tyreke made a mistake. And for what he got suspended for, not like that's just a one-time thing. He had to have made multiple mistakes with that. And, he paid a big price for it. I still think he, like multiple people, or like many people. I mean, you look at Boogie Cousins. Boogie Cousins can still get buckets, but like I said, there's more to, like in the Carson Edwards example, there's more to getting it, making it in the NBA. Yes, you have to have a certain skill level, which Tyreke Evans obviously has, but you got to have the other stuff. You know, the stuff you could get blackballed for. All that stuff has to be in alignment. And what's really hurting Tyreke, in my opinion, is maybe if he was, 8 years younger, 10 years younger, and he made these mistakes and he came back, he'd get more chances. But at this point in his career, if you do give him another chance, I know if I'm a GM, I'm going to have, I don't know the answer to this question, but it would weigh heavily on my mind. How much more could he give me at this age? You know what I mean? Yes, he could probably get buckets in Puerto Rico. He can get buckets in a lot of places. But as you see, successful teams in the NBA, or just every team, I have to say, I mean, it's more than getting buckets. Like, yeah, it's one thing Tyreke Evans can get 15, 20 points, maybe. But is he going to give up 30 or 40 in the process? So it's like, how much can he defend? It's more than getting buckets. And then how much, the whole locker room aspect. Is he going to disrupt my locker room? How's he going to be personally? So I don't know if those are the reasons he's out of it. I'm just giving you a few other examples of what decision makers in the front office would consider would think about when it comes time to consider bringing Tyreke Evans into your, or anyone, Boogie Cousins the same, into your locker room.
So I'm gonna say two things, Malik. I'm gonna go off script a little bit. Mm-hmm. I love that the way you broke that down, because some people just truly don't understand how GMs think, and they think everything's about buckets, about numbers and statistics. No, it's like, are you a culture fit? Are you a scheme fit? Yeah. Or are you a person? Are you a temperament fit? Mm-hmm. Because all those things add to what I say, team dynamic. That's how and you talked about culture with the Spurs and how you guys were able to plug and play so many guys, like the great Francisco Elson and the great Marshall Starovich.
Right.
It's so other greats from that ilk, I kid, but those things matter.
Yeah.
GMs look at the whole player personnel, all that. They look at all those things. And now, if a person who has spent a second in it, but I've been in those trenches as a college coach, so I know that the apple can't fall far from the tree.
Yeah.
From an evaluation standpoint. So I'm glad you are confirming that. So with that being said, I want to ask you another question, just off Kiff. If you're a GM, who's your guy, Luka Doncic or Trae Young?
That's like, I like them both. And this isn't me dodging the question. I'm going to answer it. But a lot of that, this is the way our listeners should listen to. If you want to like win an argument or stand out in the barbershop debate, the never-ending barbershop debate, don't look at it as who's the best player, who's this, who's that. Like, they're both great players. They both can go out there and get you a double-double any night. They both can go out there and dominate a game. What does the owner want to do? Like, what is that owner about? Look at the owner's track record, and you can see, like, where that owner's coming from. In this case, it'll be Mark Cuban and Tony Ressler. What are they doing, like, in the community? What are they building a new arena? Are they looking to make the playoffs? Is the championship or bust? Are they rebuilding or whatever? Like, these are definitely two top talents in the league. But a lot of what the decisions the GM are gonna make, maybe all of them, at least the big ones when it comes to like a Luka Doncic and Trae Young discussion, they're going to be driven by the owner, what the owner wants. So if you look at Mark Cuban a few years ago, I'm sure you reported on it, Franks. The international players are a lot better than the U.S. domestic players.
Right.
So like that tells you right then and there what he's all about or what he values. Right or wrong, I don't know.
That's fair.
Yeah, he owns the team, so it's his decision to make. So in that case, Donnie Nelson at the time was the GM of the Mavericks. My man Mike Finn was in the room. Mike Finley. I'm sure they probably were like, "Hey, listen, we could go with this guy or we can go with that guy. This guy will give us A, B, and C. This guy will give us X, Y, and Z." And Cuban, I don't know if it was the deciding factor, but one of the deciding factors was this guy, Luka Doncic, has been playing professionally since he was 14 years old. He moved away from home when he was 14. He's just more mature than a lot of the top AAU players that we have going to Kentucky and, one and done guys in the US. I don't want to deal with a lot of the one and done, so quote unquote one and done headaches that teams are dealing with, that a lot of, I want to transfer, or I want to get traded or whatever, is one of the big ones that, this AAU culture has created, where I want to play with my friends, so I don't like it here. You're not playing me enough, so I want to leave. Some owners may not want to deal with that. And to date, and I would agree with this, to date, a lot of the international stars we have who came up on that international route, they get somewhere and they pretty much want to stay there. Now, Luka may be the first one, if they keep struggling in Dallas, he may ask out. But Giannis hasn't asked out. Jokic hasn't asked out. Luka today hasn't asked out. And
Rubio never did.
Spurs
never did.
You look at some of the AAU, the top. Those are the top international guys.
Yeah.
I look at some of the top, your Trae Youngs and the like. Or he hasn't asked out, but he's a top AAU guy. Look at how many top AAU guys in the last 5 years has demanded out, forced their way out, and teams always lose when, like an Anthony Davis, somebody asks out, because you're never going to get good value or great value back, or equal value, I'd say, equal value back when you're trading a top 10 player who's unhappy, he wants to leave. You're never going to get equal value out. So the teams lose out. So all that to say, the owner is the one that's going to drive that. And looking at Mark Cuban and what he said about international players a few years ago, it does not, surprise me one iota that he chose Luka Doncic over Trae Young.
What if Malik Rose is the GM, or the owner, or the de facto GM?
I want the best player. Now, if I don't have a point guard, then I'm going to take the best player available. That's pretty much what the draft is about. Like, one thing in the front office, the draft is about value. It's not always about. I want to mix it, value with team fit, but it's mostly about value. And then pro personnel is where you figure out team fit. That's where you get the shooter you need, you get the defender you need, the pick and roll guy you need. So, like in the case with the Sixers, the year they had, I think they had Jahlil Okafor first, or maybe Embiid first, whatever. If you have Okafor, and Okafor was one of the top players, do you take an Embiid? Now for the Sixers, obviously it worked out, but I would argue Okafor might have been better had Embiid not been there, because he would, it's only one basketball. So Embiid, yes, is the better player, but I think Okafor would still be in the league had he not lost out those minutes and lost that opportunity in Philly. Just my opinion. But to answer your question, I take the best player available. And at the time, Dallas didn't have a point guard, so or at least a point guard of the future. So I can see taking the best player and the guy that fits your team best. They lucked out because they got the best player and the guy that their team had the biggest need for. It's almost like, that year with Jordan. If you have Jordan, do you take Clyde Drexler? You know what I mean? That's the whole best player argument. But I would have taken – actually, that year, I remember I was in Atlanta, and, I knew Dallas wanted to move up. So with my little vote, I was voting to take the trade, and I wanted to get Jaren Jackson. So we could have got a couple of first-round picks and Jaren Jackson. That's value for me. That's like maximizing value. And, either way, all three of those teams worked out well. Jaren Jackson's a stud, Trae Young's a stud, and Luka's a stud. So, it was like a no-lose situation for those teams.
Malik, I ain't gonna let you do that.
What's up?
Ooh.
What? I took
great.
Okay. I would have taken point guard. I mean,
just right now, if every facet of information right now.
I already made that decision. I took Jaren Jackson.
Luka or Trae?
See, for me, all right. So, what team am I GMing? Okay, that's okay. Here's a fair question for that. What team am I GMing?
All right, so let me put this.
My GM in Atlanta, Dallas.
Your average team, no matter what, you got ancillary pieces. You need a guy who's just going to be your face of your franchise, and you got to just build around the cat.
All right, small point guards scare me.
Yes, me too. Thank you. Thank you for saying
Trae Young. Small point guards scare me. Trae Young is special, so if a small point guard could overcome something, maybe. I probably would have gone with the bigger point guard, the bigger of the two, Luka. But Luka scares me because I saw what he, I was close. Anyway, I have insight to what happened his rookie year with Rick Carlisle.
Yeah.
That stuff is a team killer. Killer. And Trae had some of that too. Most young players, it's tough to grow up and get out of that me attitude and get in the we attitude. So
agreed.
to answer your question, if I had to take one of them, I would have taken the bigger player, Luka. And I do put a lot of stock in, living on your own at 14. I couldn't have left home at 14. And I damn sure let my son leave the house to go some other country and play basketball at 14. So that's a different type of a different level of maturity. So yes, Luka is the guy I would have taken, but I would have had concerns either way with Luka or Trey.
Gotcha. So you took Trey Young. All right, cool. Well, I said this because
it's Luka.
Yeah, okay. So I kind of set you up a little bit because in my sports group, there's been a controversy about Luka or Trey. Because listen, man, I'm a fan of people who play basketball the right way. If you're great, you're great. I think Trey Young is a great player. I'm with you though. I shy away from some small guards. I don't. If your name is Isaiah Thomas, the original one, I just don't love that. I don't love the small guard dynamic. So if you're the best player. So with that being said, Luka Doncic has been a pro at 14. You led your team in Euro championships since 16. Playing in the ACB league in Spain. It's a no-brainer for me. For me, it's a no-brainer.
But there's more to it. This is what, and I don't expect listeners, everybody to understand this or to know it. But it's like, okay, this is kind of under the umbrella of like, does Kawhi turn into Kawhi if he doesn't go to San Antonio? You know what I mean? So
maybe not.
No, but like what I'm saying with Luka's skill set and shortcomings, and Trey's skill set and shortcomings. Instead of, and this is no knock on my man Lloyd Pierce because that's my people's. I love him to death. If Trey Young and Luka come in under Popovich and they have a Tony Parker and a Tim Duncan, like the culture that's around them is better, do they become more mature players and they cut out all that BS and that nonsense that has gotten coaches fired over the last couple of years? You know what I mean? In my team, I'm confident that we're going to have the right culture where we could bring a risky type personality into our locker room, and our vets, our coaches, our leadership, and the mentors.
So your culture molds him,
right? Basically. It's going to straighten him out, going to hold him accountable, and make him maximize what he could become. You put some of these guys with questionable character around weaker coaching staffs, weaker cultures, and you'll see what we're getting. So, all that to say, even if I would have took a Trey Young or Luka, I think their first 4 years would have been totally different than what they've experienced. Had a lot more winning, put it like that, a lot more winning.
That's fair. Or it could have been a lot more turmoil because, let me put this.
It wouldn't have been turmoil, especially if we had the pieces. Now, if we're rebuilding around them, then yeah, we gotta we would have built it a certain way. But bringing in. And you listen to DeJounte Murray on he was on Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes' podcast, and I remember because I did the work scouting DeJounte Murray. There were some questions about character coming out of UW. Going to a San Antonio system, like none of that stuff you had to worry about because they had vets and they had strong-willed vets in place. They had a coach that when he says something, it's like gospel. Like you're not going to question it, not just because he's coach, just because he has 5 championships. So players falling in line differently with that type of coach. Conversely, you take a guy like DeJounte Murray or any of these guys that are on these top teams, and you put them with a first-year head coach or a team like Orlando or how Sac was for years rebuilding, and you got these young coaches that are strong in development, getting guys better, but they're not necessarily the strongest in leadership. Then you have some of these questionable character guys that can go left. There's a lot of things that have to go right for you to be able to hit on a player. And a lot of people don't understand this, but you have to have everything in place if you want to maximize the chances of hitting a home run with a top talent.
No, I'm with that, man. I understand, dynamics matter. But at the end of the day, sometimes you take the best player, and that's kind of just what I'm alluding to. Mm-hmm. But I understand that answer. Now I respect that answer.
Right. Is Jalen Carter the best player in the NFL draft this year, or was it CJ? Oh, who went one? Bryce, whatever.
Yeah, buddy from
Alabama. Okay. Who's the best? Who's the best player? That's like
who knows though. I mean, yeah. It's a lot of
You got to factor in a lot of stuff when you're running a team, man. You got to factor in a lot of stuff before you get to what the owner wants to do.
No, I agree with that. I'm about to bring Sir Tice up, man. And salute to No Guarantees putting 10 on it. You know to get you over here, God got it. Now Bill, talk to him. Money. Yeah. Money. Yeah. Appreciate you, No Guarantees. He says, home training and charity starts at home. Talk to him.
Yeah.
Tabernacle Church. Listen, man. As a former teacher, man, I put a lot of onus on parents, man. Yeah. You guys are the first line of defense for your kid to develop of what they are.
Yeah.
Listen.
Dude, like that's like been the truth since the beginning of time, man. And that's what I think Deion said it, or Deion was going through something when he was talking about scouting and recruiting players at different positions. He wants like a 2-parent household for this guy, and then he wants like a single parent household for this guy, and all that stuff. There's a rhyme and reason for it, but it all falls under the umbrella of like, what a player learns from home.
Absolutely. All right, so with that being said, let's bring in my guy, Sir Tice. Sir Tice, you have the floor. You have the mic, sir.
Yeah. Excuse the place. I'm still recovering from the great flood of Fort Lauderdale. What happened?
Right.
Y'all heard about that. Right. Malik, shout out to you, Hoop. How you been, man?
Man, good, bro. Good to see you, man.
Malik, every time you come on here, I gotta always come up to you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Last time you were here, you gave us a preview of what was gonna happen with the All-Star game and such. So I got a personal question to ask you, because I've joked with you and how you've done every role except own a team right now, right?
Make it style.
All right. I
remember that.
All right. First question. This is a personal one for me. Since you worked with the beloved Detroit Pistons organization before, what do you think? I don't like the T word, so I'll call it a different word. I'll call it a tear down. I believe when you were there, we still had, no disrespect to Blake Griffin, but we still had his contract. We were in salary cap hell. What do you think of the teardown and a combination of the talent that we have right now, not only with K, but with Ivy and those things? And since you got somewhat of a personal connection there, what are your thoughts there? And then I'll follow it up with the next question about something in your current role.
Yeah, first of all, I'm happy. There's light at the end of the tunnel for the Pistons. Coach Casey, I love him to death. Great dude, one of my biggest supporters and best mentors, man. I mean, he's awesome. So super happy. Even though he was, he got more losses than he deserved, but I'm super happy he's still involved with the organization. And he's going to a leadership role there. But I brought him up because there's some good people in Detroit that I'm rooting for, on both sides of the ball, business side and the basketball side. So for them to have as much young talent as they have and be in the position they are to get the best talent out of this year's draft, super excited for them. Troy Weaver and I go back to my days at Oklahoma City.
Oh, wow. I didn't know. Yeah, it's
big fan of his. So I'm rooting for them. They're in a much better place now, for sure. I mean, you get Cade Cunningham. You got the kid from Purdue,
Ivy,
Purdue.
Beef Stew.
Yeah, so Beef Stew. You got my man from Philly, the big fella. I got
Durden.
Yeah, Jalen Durden. So they have some pieces, and they're statistically in line to get one of the top 3 players in this year's draft, and it's probably 5 or 6 player draft in my estimation right now from what I've seen. I'm rooting for them. I think they're in a better position. But as far as the T words you said, this is one of the things we continue to have to work on as a league in general. Teams, players, league office, everybody. There are pros and cons to putting a team together. And if you look at the NBA champions for the last 20, 30, 40 years or whatever, you can't win it's hard, almost impossible to win an NBA championship if you don't have a top 2 or 3 player on your team at their position or whatever.
Right.
You got to have a top 10 player in the league. It helps, and how old is he and stuff. So anyway, all that to say, that's why some of these teams feel that's the only way they can get out. So they have to use the T word to improve their chances of getting a top player.
All
And
right.
then, a lot of things have to happen after that. But that's why you see the T word being used by a lot of teams. Detroit used it for a couple of years, and now it's time for them to see if they can start to turn things around and go from the T word to contending for the playoffs. And then once they do that, maybe contending to get to the championship. It's levels to it, but they should be out of the tank mode now and going to trying to make the playoffs.
Okay. Appreciate that. Let me also give you credit. I don't know what the word is, and then I'll ask my question. But there's something called how you guys have the players in the G League where you're at now that are able to come up and then come back, and it's been like over 100, or I think it's over 100 players this year. Am I wrong about that? That have I forget what the word is when a
two-way contract.
Two-way.
Yeah.
So I like seeing that. This ties into a question. If I'm not mistaken, when you're a player, you are also a player rep, right?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. You're the perfect person to ask this question.
Okay.
Hoop Jargon has a group, and I swear, man. No, I'm not gonna knock most of his group or whatever. You got some smart guys there, whatever. Some. I agree with that. No. Okay. You hear. Please explain to the casual fan and to the semi-knowledgable fan and the Hoop Jargon experience fan or what have you, that when like the NBA recently redid their CBA, right? And there was no discussion about, like, you hear these guys say, man, they need to have them 17-year-olds and them 18-year-olds come in. Whereas I'm like, guys, no vet is gonna say, yeah, you know what? We're going to eliminate our jobs just so these young guys can come up. And by the way, you're under contract. Don't say the words I'm using or what have you or whatever. But color it up. But what I'm trying to say is that a team definitely needs its vets. But you being a player rep, you're not gonna let just some green rookie. You were in the league when I'll say their names. Let me be the one. When the Corleone Youngs, Rob Swifts, and all Sebastian Telfairs, Websters. You were in. Everybody talks about the Kobe's, the Durant's. They don't. The Jonathan Benders. And again, no disrespect to those brothers, but those brothers, and Rob Swift's a brother too, or whatever. But I'm just saying those brothers could have used more seasoning. What I'm saying. The CBA addressed nothing. They didn't change that rule. You still got to sit out a year or, and such. Can you just give some insight into that? Okay, are the players looking out for the vets at the bare minimum? Like, hold on. Are they thinking like that not only as a rep, but also, do you also agree? Yeah, and by the way, I'm rambling, but hear me out. What I've always said is I wish basketball had a system like baseball, just much looser. Okay, if you're good, you're going to come to this G-League. And if you ball out of it in 1 or 2 months. Mm-hmm. Junior Griffey in baseball did it. He balled out of single, double, and AAA to where he got there like one of the quickest. So it can happen. And then it also helps the G League. You got these marketable guys and such. That's the system I would love, where guys earn their way up versus that. Okay, I threw a lot at you, but the main point was about
say land the plane, Tice.
No. The plane is basically this. As reps, you're going to look out more for your veterans than new coming individuals, right? Because you're not going to give your jobs away to 10 and 15-year vets. And then also, that doesn't help players. Owners can pay these guys less versus a guy with 10 plus years experience. But I said a lot. Feel free to go on it. And thanks for taking my question. I'm going to go off camera.
No, it's good. Thank you for joining. I appreciate the question and the passion.
All right. Always love when you come on, Malik. Salute.
Oh, man. Appreciate you. So first off, the Major League Baseball, their minor league system has been around a lot longer than the G League has. The G League, the NBA's minor league system, has been around just 2006. So we have a lot of work to do before we can, get as well run as Major League Baseball's minor league system. Like, we definitely have goals in mind, and, improving the G League is one of them. So when that happens, hopefully we can, have our guys come out and ball out in the G League A, G League AA, and G League AAA, or whatever you want to call it. So hopefully that happens in the future. But that's been a problem, the whole age discussion. That's been a problem since, the guys, Spencer Haywood, I guess, you guys first started to test the league and trying to get in. So without going into all of it, it's like it has to be all that's collectively bargained, and it's not like the league couldn't get it done or the players couldn't get it done. The league and the players and the agents and the coaches and everybody, we couldn't get it done this year, talking about a lot of money and a lot of stuff, and that's just how it happens in business. It's eventually going to happen, would be my guess. It's just not going to happen this collective bargaining agreement, and maybe they'll continue to talk about it. They'll table it for now and talk about it during this I think it's a 7-year window. This new agreement has happened, but it's a lot of things that go into that. Kind of like what I said before, if Kobe, I think Kobe probably would have made it with any team. He was just that driven, but it helped Kobe, going to a team that had Shaq, Eddie Jones, Nick Van Exel, Jerry West, they had good pieces around him. So it wasn't like he was thrown into Orlando as, and it's not no shade at anybody in Orlando, but who's Paolo Banchero's vet? You know what I mean? He won Rookie of the Year. That's not necessarily, that's no slight, but that's not an easy thing to do, but it's not necessarily the most impossible thing to do either. Especially when you play all the minutes, you take all the shots, you can put up a lot of stats, whether they're good stats or empty stats, whatever. He won the Rookie of the Year. But now the real test isn't necessarily winning Rookie of the Year. It's can you put 25 more wins on the win column if you're Paolo Banchero or any of these rookies coming in. And I bring that up because, I think Tim Duncan, my best, friend in the world, I think he's, the best power forward to ever play the game. He probably doesn't turn the Spurs around plus 27 in the win column if he doesn't have David Robinson there, Sean Elliott, Avery Johnson and the like. He had some good vets around him that helped him be the star that he was. I remember Tim, the first thing he did, or the first thing he was told to do, however you want to look at it, when he got with the Spurs was go spend a month with David Robinson in Aspen. And they worked out every day, playing one-on-one and everything. So when you have that type of mentoring, it improves your chances of being a successful young guy. Plus, Tim played for 4 years. But I bring that story up, or that example up, because you improve the chances of your young guys succeeding if you bring them into fertile soil. You get to plant them in fertile soil. The last thing I'll say about Tyson's question is the union and the league continue to work together to take care of aging vets. If you look at when you hear a contract, when you hear like when Melo signed for they reported it was like the league minimum, which was I think the 2-year minimum at the time was like 1.4. So that rule, that's a collectively bargained rule that was put into place to entice teams to keep vets around. All the team will be responsible for is a 2-year minimum contract, which at the time was 1.4. It's probably about 1.7 right now. And the league created fund will pay the difference. I think Melo got closer to $3 million that year, but the league paid the difference. So now teams say, okay, if I have a young player or a vet like Melo, I can bring into my locker room and I got to pay him the same money. Now,
young guy.
Right. I don't have to just take the young guy. I don't have to, because it's not costing me any more to get Melo and all the experience and all the skill he has. Yeah. So that didn't solve the problem of, teams losing vets or choosing younger guys over vets, but it definitely helped. Maybe we keep 20 to 40% more vets in our league, which improves the chances of our young guys succeeding and blossoming, but there's still work to do to take care of that, 34 to 38-year-old vet, 33 to 38-year-old vet, so teams won't choose a 19, 20-year-old guy with 15 years ahead of them. I hope I answered that, but it's very nuanced and there's a lot that goes into it.
Not like that, man. You hit the minutia area that I didn't even think about. As a guy, I'm 39 years old. Me and Melo are the same age. LeBron's a year younger than me. Right. I remember playing a tournament with Melo my senior year of high school. We're the same age.
Really?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Okay.
Kendrick Perkins in the tournament too. He's like 2 years younger than me.
Okay.
So it's funny how life comes kind of full circle, man. And like the older guys start to drop off, and like I'm the age of the older guy in the NBA. You know what I mean? So it's good to hear that there's a clause in place for the older guys to kind of who still have it, so they won't get kind of, snipped in the standpoint of, okay, I'm going youth.
I think the main thing is just vets are extremely valuable. And there was a time there, about the time, like when I retired around, 2009, 2010, right around 2010 to maybe 21, 22, where it was bad to be a vet, man. They were just getting rid of you guys because teams all adopted the mantra of, younger is better, young, young. Now we've seen some of the failures, I guess you can say, from some of these younger guys, not named Kobe, not named, Kevin Garnett and the like, falling out of the league. And there's more value being placed on vets. I mean, Udonis Haslem has not been able to, play, 30 minutes in an NBA game for quite some time now, but he's kept a job with the Miami Heat, and he has huge value to Coach Spoelstra because he keeps that locker room in check. It's like having that vet that's not going to let any BS creep into your locker room. Meaning, if there's a problem, this guy's chirping about minutes, this guy's chirping about role and responsibility or whatever, let's talk about it. Go knock on that. He's going to tell him, go knock on that coach's door. Or, yo, man, we start practice at 10 o'clock. All this getting here at 9:45, 9:55, that ain't going to work. You're a young guy. You get your ass here at 9 o'clock. You get treatment, get your work done before, be on the court and ready to go 30 minutes before we start. That's huge value. And it's huge value to the team, but it's also huge value to our young guys because it teaches them how to be pros and it increases their chances of staying in the NBA longer than their skills will afford them to. So I can't say enough about the value of vets, and I'm glad to see certain teams, the pendulum is starting to swing back towards vets where teams are valuing them and keeping more of them around.
Free game, ladies and gentlemen. We're giving you free game for no charge, man. Listen, man, it got to be at least worth the like. Listen, man, this is a guy taking, time out of his busy schedule to break down the fabric of how a team is constructed. Because, yes, you need guys who, I know everybody say, oh, Don has him suck. He does suck. However, he's a guy who serves a purpose greater than his on-court performance. He's a guy who's basically an extension of your head coach who controls the culture, in the locker room, which is hard because coaches, you know how players are, man. When the coach is in there, everybody on their best behavior, like, awesome. Then when coach leaves, and then it's back to whatever the culture is.
Yeah.
But when you have a guy who understands to okay, I got to relate to these guys, but I also have to be a extension of coach. That's when you won, and that's how you can see a team like Miami. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but a team like Miami, who went to the finals in 2020, being one of the worst ranked finals opponents ever, to be beating Giannis in the first round this year because the culture is strong. And why is that? Because you got old heads like Udonis Haslem in there usurping all that BS out of that, that could potentially be there with no Tyler Hero either. Oh, by the way. So go ahead.
The thing is, but it goes both ways. It's not just Udonis Haslem. He's a big piece of it. But this is why, one of the reasons, many reasons that, I love Riley. It's like he has former players around. Alonzo Mourning is there. Like, this is like, Mr. Miami. He's still involved, so he's around the program. Malik Allen, he's on the bench. He played in Miami, played under Riles and all those, Stan Van Gundy and all those guys. Quinn, their coach, one of their assistant coaches, he played. Brady Quinn, I think is his name. He played.
That's not Brady Quinn. That's the other Quinn.
Yeah,
Brady Quinn was quarterback. I know you're talking about white dude shooter.
Yeah, God, I know you're talking about. Anyway, Chris Quinn. He played for Miami, so they all grew up in that culture. So that helps Spoelstra, and it goes both ways. Where yes, they'll take Spoelstra's message to the players and rule with that under those rules. But they'll also take players' concerns to management. Like, hey, Spo, I think, players may need a day off right now, or, maybe, we can, skip shoot around this day and just show up at the game, do a film session or something. But it goes both ways. So that just helps the culture because sometimes coaches need that. That's what the assistants are there for. Absolutely. But when you also have a former player on the bench or still on the coaching side or still on the bench, that also helps because there's another set of eyes and ears that can keep the coach plugged into what's happening and what's needed to keep the team going.
Absolute facts. Absolute facts. And guys, you're getting it from a person who actually lived that life. And so I know sometimes we all hoop, you just talking, you just play college, you play overseas. This is a guy who played for the San Antonio Spurs. who've coached in the NBA ranks, who knows all the minutia. That's my word, y'all. All he knows all the minutia of what a team is comprised of, because you have to understand this stuff. So when you're at the water cooler arguing with Billy Bob and you're talking about stats, understand the game is deeper than stats.
Yeah. It really is, man. That's funny because the first thing, even with the talking heads on TVs, if people get paid to do it, like I refuse to argue with them, because you can make, like, especially with the greatness, I'll say, because I do love most analytics. I love analytics, but not all of them. And with the power of analytics and everything you can do with numbers, you can tell any story you want, is what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
You take it over a long enough period of time or a short enough period of time, and you put in for 36 minutes, 24 minutes, or whatever, you can tell any story you want. But I don't want to argue with them, is what I'm saying. Like, stats are good. I take the stats that I like to look at and I use them in my arguments, but I don't like to argue with a lot of people, be it at a water cooler or in a boardroom, because you're not going to win. It's almost like trying to argue religion and politics. Sometimes if a person believes it as hard as they do, you are not changing their minds. You're going to just have to agree to disagree and then see how it plays out over the life of that player's career.
Agree. And listen, and I know you're not going to say it, I'll say it. Nick Wright. I'm sorry. Nick Wright started in the KC market. Then he got his claim to fame in the Houston market. That's why I got to know him. Then he's now doing his thing in Fox Sports, and salute to him. I disagree with damn near 90% of stuff he says. Yeah. And it's because, listen, man, you cannot define sports with just numbers. You have to have nuance with sports. You got to go ahead.
And I'll tell you where that comes from. And, this isn't going to be a popular answer, but it's the truth. So many of the truthful answers are not the most popular ones.
Never.
And I don't know much about Nick Wright. I don't know. I just know I only heard about him from the whole Kyrie thing or whatever, but it's not like I follow him, and I don't really watch a lot of Fox at all. But everybody wants to be in the NBA, in the pros, NFL, NBA, Major League, NHL, whatever. Everybody wants to be in the pros. So our way of, playing at the pro level was we were able to do it on the court. We were able to do it and experience it at a level very, very few of us are able to. But there are millions and millions and millions of people, more people that want to be involved in it at the highest level, but their only way into it is through the numbers or through the medical. Like, you'll be surprised at how many doctors or, performance specialists I've met that can solve this and can solve that. And they sell this stuff to ownership and everything. And that's their way into the NBA. They get to look at the benches of the NBA. Used to have 4 assistants, 1 trainer, and that was pretty much it. Now, the people who are in the team issued polos, outnumber the 15 players on the bench. You got like
2 rows of people now.
You got 40 people behind the bench. And I'm not saying all of that is for numbers, but I would bet money. Not all those people are needed. That's all. That's just my opinion. But my whole point in saying this is, like, people, that's their only way in the NBA is to use the numbers. They're not going to be able to take a guy through when you rip through or when you shoot, you got to do it this way. They can't do this. So they can say, well, you shot 50% here and 40% here and this. So, if you do this less and do this more, maybe you can have success. But
who nerds? I'm gonna say these 2 things. First off, let me salute Sir Tice putting 10 on. He says, well, you know what? Before I get to the question, let me say this. Let me get dollar bill out of the way. Money, yeah.
Right.
Money, yeah.
Right.
So let me say this. I obliterated him on this channel a year ago in the NBA Finals when he said that there's no way that the Warriors could beat the Celtics. I walked his take down every game in the series because his argument was, well, Jordan Poole's averaging this, and then Steph averaging this. So for the Lakers to win, they have to average this. I'm sorry, Lakers. The Warriors to win. Like, listen, man, basketball is not like that. Basketball is matchups driven. Mm-hmm. So it's team dynamic driven. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter what the averages are. It matters about what matchups can you capitalize on. Mm-hmm. That's what basketball is. And again, I'm not Johnny Con later. Y'all follow my channel. A year ago, every take he had, I went game by game by game by game. Before the game, I like, okay, that's a fallacy. because Jordan Poole does not have to be the leading scorer off the bench for them to win. Golden State has to control pace. Golden State has to neutralize Jason Tatum and Brown and run their sugar honey iced tea. Y'all know what the acronym is. Kevon Looney is a guy who nobody else would pick in this world, but he understands the system. He'll rebound, he'll score in the confines of what the system dictates. And they will win this series. And I walked down how Nick Wright was wrong and who was right at the end of the day. So, and again, I did this with not knowing who gonna win, but I was just like, okay, let's compare the logic between how basketball is actually played. So my whole point is, you can't put too much stock in these stat guys because stat guys they didn't play. So if you didn't play, and I'm saying you can't learn, and rest in peace to Mike Leach, great football coach. He didn't play football like that.
Right.
But he learned it, and he was very successful. But for every Mike Leach, there's 1,000 other failures, other things.
Right.
But people tend to want to only accentuate the anomalies. And in my opinion, Nick Wright is not an anomaly. Nick Wright is a casual who dominates because he's really good at. He's basically a human computer. I'll give him that.
Right.
You know,
just look at and not going too deep into it. Shout out all the guys, all the numbers guys. Shout out all the people who have found a way.
I ain't shouting them out. Go ahead, but you do your thing.
Just be involved with the league they love. I mean, if they love it and they found a way to get into it, I'm all about that. That's one thing, I'm like, just figure it out. Find a way to do it. So if they found a way to do it, shout out to them. But where I pushed back is a lot of people, and these are casual fans, great fans who we love and we need, but they're not educated in like what we're talking about. They just know the game. They love the game because it's more entertainment to them as opposed to life. So they're the ones that this stuff is going to appeal to. All the blogs and all the videos and the news articles that talk about, basketball on paper, where you set yourself apart. It's like if you can do both. If you can talk the basketball on paper and basketball on the court, then you're like, what I like to call a Jedi at basketball. Like, you know it or whatever. So it's not saying one is better than the other. I'm not saying that. I just am fortunate enough to be in a position where I can see through a lot of fluff and a lot of stuff that doesn't matter and pull out what I need from the numbers side. Like I'm very confident in the basketball side. I'm good there, what I believe. But I recognize the value of numbers. I have a mathematics degree, so I love numbers, and I know that stuff is real, but not all of it. I can pull out what I need to help with my decision making and use it to my advantage. Use it to, if I got 100 guys to look at, I can whittle it down to 20 with numbers, with analytics, and that's great. I'm able to spend my time more wisely, more efficiently, but that's not knocking the people that have to do it that way. It's just I tend not to subscribe to a lot of the talking heads that use that, because they're not even doing it to solve a problem in the NBA. They're doing it to gain likes and notoriety and become popular, so they can make money that way. So hats off to them. You found a way to do it, great, but don't try to diminish what I know or what I do, saying it doesn't matter because I just played, because you have some quote unquote numbers or scientific way that you think makes it work or whatever. Yeah, 100%,
man. And I'll be a little more boisterous. I just think these are herbs. You know how I go in the herb. You're a herb. You just a dude. You don't know what you're talking about.
Going in.
Because listen, I ain't played NBA level, so I can't be.
You played at the pro level. You played at the pro level.
I can't be sanctimonious and be like, all right, I played the highest level. But I played at a pretty stringent level where, like you said, we talked about this an hour ago, that I was in a level where played in Portugal, where if any modicum of a misstep, the game is blamed on me. I lived that life.
Right.
So when I listen to somebody who I know you ain't played past JV, I know you didn't. You don't know the life I live, bro. So there's a level. Now I'll listen to you if you make a succinct point, and if your references are right. Okay, cool. But if you are talking, I know you're talking out your ASS.
Yeah.
I know you talking out your ass. So it ain't, I'm gonna just call you on it, bro, because I sweat it. I put that work in. I've been slandered in public.
Right.
For me, you know what I'm saying? I live that life. So I don't care if it offends, people, because listen, you don't know how it feels to be in that position. I'm sure you being an undersized post, you got it. You got that work a lot.
Man, here's the one thing, and there's a lot of things that go on. So, so Tim Duncan, everybody, if you watch the game, my man would always leave me. They never guarded me on offense. One, because they never ran plays for me or whatever. But my man would always be the one to go and like double Tim, or sit in the paint so people couldn't drive, and I'm sitting there left on the wing wide open or on the baseline open, and the ball will find you. And if you're the one shot you get or whatever, you imagine the pressure that's on that shot. My man is the reason Tim Duncan can't get a shot off or can't get the ball. And when the ball hits me, the open man, I got to hit this shot to make them pay. That's a different level of pressure, especially when you only get one or two of them a game. Now, that's the 15, 17-footer I had to shoot.
Yeah.
The talking heads that are on TV talking about is, he can't make a 15, and I could make it. I was nice on the wing. They look at it as he can't make a 15, 17-footer. They don't filter that 15, 17-footer in with what you said, the pressure. You're the American on an international team. If you miss this 17-footer, it's going to be your fault. They're going to cut you and send you home. You're going to lose your money. They don't look at it as, if I don't make this shot, I'm under the pressure. Pop is going to take me out of the game. I'm on 1 year, non-guaranteed contracts. I can get cut. That's a different type of pressure, but they don't factor that in. Nor should I don't expect them to, because they don't know it or see it like we see it. All that to say, this is why I stopped arguing with people that, for the most part, 90% of the time, I don't, debate or discuss things with people who didn't really play or don't have a basketball background. They can't see it. If they don't know, they don't know. So you can't blame them or fault them for not knowing. They know what they know, which is great. And they can say the same thing about some of us that don't know some former players that don't understand numbers or the analytics part, which is why I wanted to learn it. I didn't want those guys to ever be able to say that about me. So all that to say, there's value in the numbers. There's value in the people that use the numbers to get in the NBA. I think there's a spot for them here, but it's not like that's the only way to do it. And you can take away the experience part and the eye test and the basketball part of it. The best decisions are made when those two worlds come together and are working together to get the best decision.
I agree, man. In the words of man, analytics. I don't like no analytics.
And he's also the guy that last night said, I think whatever he said, or something about there's no failures or whatever. I love Giannis, but I agree with Shaq 100% on that. There are failures in sports, man. They failed at their goal. Not saying he's a loser or he's not a good player or anything, but if your goal, which Milwaukee's goal, I know their staff, their goal was to win the championship.
For sure.
And if you go back to when they won it, Giannis said it, let's do it again. Yeah. So when the top dog says, let's do it again, and that's your goal. So if you don't reach that goal, you failed. There's no softening that. That's the truth.
And Giannis would accept that though.
Right. And yeah, exactly. I think there was a little bit, maybe lost in translation with the language barrier or whatever. So I know Giannis believes that or whatever, but it's like everybody now, you turn on the TV and the radio and it's, oh, this is great. And, there's no failure. Yes, that's what sports and competition is about. That's I don't understand how we can talk about sports and competing and you don't have failure. Losing a game doesn't necessarily mean you failed or whatever, but failure is directly correlated to goals. They had a goal of winning the NBA championship. They set that as their goal as day one. And when you do not reach your goals, that is the definition of a failure. Plain and simple. Doesn't mean you can't try again. It doesn't mean you won't succeed the next year. To Giannis' point, Jordan only won 6 championships, but he played 15 years. That doesn't mean he was a loser those 9 years. But I wouldn't say all those years, maybe early in his career, their goal was the playoffs or their goal was 42 wins or something. It wasn't like winning a championship. But in every year out of those 9 that their goal was to win a championship and they didn't, they failed.
It's brilliant. And listen, man, I ain't trying to pick on them, man. Your
Leave
boy
my man Russ alone, man. Russ is good.
Russ
people.
came in saying he ain't got no expectations. It ain't no big deal.
That's
He
not-
don't feel no pressure. Like, dude, you are so absent of the truth, homie.
Yeah,
You play for the Lakers, my boy, and you are LA product.
yeah.
Championship is the expectation and nothing else, my friend.
Yep. That's what I said about Giannis too. It's like that's the gift and the curse of Giannis and KD, and LeBron. Any team that those players go to instantly becomes a championship contender. Championship becomes the goal. And that's a lot of pressure to operate under. And I get it. It's hard, but with this has been happening for a while with this generation too. I'm not throwing shade. It is what it is, but it's like, this is remember how everybody gets a trophy, nobody's a loser, everybody matters, all that. This is the manifestation of everybody gets a trophy.
Yes.
It's now manifested itself to there are no losers. Yes, there are 29 losers in the NBA every year.
Literally.
If you don't win a championship, you're a loser. And if you don't achieve your goals, you have failed. Let's get back to the essence of what sports and competition is, because it's going to help us in life too. You're going out here. It used to be you're competing with people for jobs. You have to, everything's fair and love and war to win out there. Now you're going to be competing with AI in the next, for the future, the foreseeable future. You got to compete. You got to fight, and you have to. It comes down to winning and losing, succeeding and failing. You can't soften that up. That's just how it is.
That's just how it is. And I want to ask this question because Tice put 5 on it, and I gave the dollar bill already.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask this. Kevin Willis. It's a funny thing. So people used to, I used to be a Houston fan. Rockets go by 2010. But everybody know Kevin Willis at that edge up there went way on back to the backy back. But
can't talk about my man K-Dub. No K-Dub jokes on this show, man. No K-Dub jokes.
Hey, well, shout out to my man. What was my man?
Kevin Willis,
the rapper. Man, come on, what my Houston people at? I can't think of his name. His name is S something G. He had a famous sign. He had a famous phrase like, "Somebody tell Kevin Willis we want our money back." That was like a big line in the song. Everybody.
Whatever, man. K-Dub.
I like Kevin Willis.
That's one of my best teammates ever. I love him to death. And what I learned from him, Kev has his own clothing line. Kev, he started out making just jeans, but he's in, coats and suits and shoes. Now his shoe game is off the chain, man. So, I spent a lot of money with Kev buying his stuff, but I learned, a lot about, I'm from Philly, so naturally I have a style about me. But, Kevin Willis, I learned a lot about style and, what to wear with certain things and what not to wear and how to rock certain things. Kevin Willis is like, he's a basketball, rebounding and, post up maven. He's a G where that's concerned, but he knows that.
Old as hell. Just a big old dude.
You guys, check him out. His clothing line is called Willis and Walker. You can go to willisandwalker.com, check him out. He makes some amazing pieces, man. A lot of, I call it date night chic stuff and some fly suits and a lot of the dressy shoes and the casual shoes as well. So I learned a lot about style and how to dress from my man Kevin Willis.
You know what? No, I misquoted. It was Kevin Cato. It was.
Yeah.
But big dude, late career Rockets. Okay, all right. Sorry, Kevin Willis. I misspoke on you, but everybody was talking about your Eddie Monster joint.
Leave him alone, Kevin Willis. He's still in crazy shape right now.
He's always been in shape,
man. He's just like a freak of nature, man. He could bench press 1,000 right now, and he could probably run a 4.5 right now.
I bet that dude was yoked, man. That's forever. So
check him out.
So all right, Ty, let's answer your question. So I'll land the plane a little bit with the show. I don't want to take too much of your time. I know you've been going an hour and a half. Appreciate you for your time.
Damn. That's how I'm having fun. I didn't even realize the time, and it's Friday night. So speaking of date night chic, I'm gonna have to go put on some of those Willis and Walker clothes and take my lady out tonight.
That's what's up. I might go take my lady out too, man. She just came back.
Yeah, go ahead, do it, man. Make it
right.
Yeah,
man. So shout out to Nico Savage. Good to see you. Beef and Brock. Good to see you. Let's see. D-Lob, talking this ish. Good to see you, brother. Shout out to Dallas in the building. Say, man, Sup, hoop jogging.
Nah, we don't need none of that. Move that. Yeah, move on.
You say, shouldn't you be in the Hall of Fame part of the team to win it in the 1900s?
Yeah, 1900s. I don't know, man. I'm just happy I got those rings, man. You know, that's something that's very near and dear to my heart, special to me, and wouldn't trade it for the world. So, you know, I don't need to be in the Hall of Fame. I got 2 rings and some great memories and friends as a result.
And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And I like people who have, like, it's called having resolve. Man, you understand what you've done on this planet. You're happy with where you are.
Right.
It's just like, listen, this is me. This is what I've done. So I really appreciate that, Malik. So we had a few other things to get to, but that's okay. I think we covered a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Next time, well, you know what? I'm in Atlanta here.
Okay.
We talked about the G-League. We talked about the impact. I want your last little opinion on what Mac McClung was able to do.
Oh, man, how we skipped that? Yeah,
man. I gotta throw that in there before we leave, man.
That was huge, man, because there's a lot of work that went on behind the scenes that people don't know.
Okay, talk about it.
Yeah, I ain't gonna put anybody on blast. Let's just say there were some people, some groups that didn't want a G League person participating on that high of an NBA stage, and I'm just glad that, you know, the people who did push for Mac McClung won out, and it was a big roll of the dice. It was like, you know, is he going to embarrass us, or is he going, poop the bed or whatever? That brother came out and showed out, man, and it was a huge success for the NBA, of course. You know, like, you just look at his, I think in the first 12 hours after that dunk contest, I think I saw a tweet, he got 500 million views of his dunks, 500 million in 12 hours. So that's just tremendous. That's probably unprecedented social media presence in the G League. You know, everything with Mac McClung was the G League. So the G League was on center stage at the NBA All-Star Weekend, in large part to Mac McClung, and he did great, man. So I can't wait for him to defend his title. You know, can you imagine the buzz leading up to that? And hopefully we get more, you know, young, exciting players, G League or NBA or whatever. You know, it doesn't matter to me as long as the product is as good as it was this year. And shout out the kid Christopher from all the dunk contestants, but the kid Christopher from New Orleans put on a show. He just ran up against, you know, McClung tonight, but that kid Christopher some of his dunks were real nice as well. I hope we can do it again. Well, we will do it again next year. I hope it's as big as it was this year, next year, which I think it'll probably be bigger. But shout out Mac McClung, man. You know, I hope he got as much mileage and positivity from his experience in the G League as the G League got from him being in the G League, man. Because it was 2 home runs. It was 2 home runs.
Yeah, that was a shining moment for the G League right there, because everybody knew he didn't play for the Sixers, but he was from the affiliate, and he did his thing.
And they won the championship. He balled out in the championship, the G League championship.
You know that.
Delaware Blue Coats won the championship. The kid Jaden Springer was the Finals MVP, and he balled out. But the next best player on that team was Mac McClung, and they wouldn't have won it if it wasn't for, you know, Mac and Jaden. So shout out to both those guys. But he culminated a great year, you know, getting a two-way player, getting a two-way contract, getting called up and playing for the NBA 76ers, winning the NBA dunk contest, and then winning the G League championship. So shout out Mac McClung.
Shout out Matt McClung, man. And I just wanted to not end the show without accentuating that, because I thought that was a huge moment for the G League. And I was very proud, because I remember our prior conversation, and like, I was very proud for how they promoted the brand. So I got to put that out there, man. So absolutely. Absolutely, brother. Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you, Malik, for your time, man. Till next time, we're going to delve into what's going on next, you know, to 6 months, whatever that we're going. And thank you so much, man, for being a 3-time part of the show, my brother.
My man, let's make it a couple months. Doesn't have to be 6 months, but we'll get back on, man. All right.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna send you my information to reach out to those players. We're gonna get some of those G League players from here to tell their stories.
Yep.
Man, I'll be the liaison.
Yeah, I'll plug you with our PR people. Yeah, we'll take care of it.
Let's do it. All right, man. Good to see you. Thank y'all so much for listening in. Malik Rose, 2-time NBA champion, all the war stories, VP of player operations and the G League. Listen, man, what else do you want, man? What else you want?
I want another Eagles championship. EAGLES Eagles.
I'm about to cut you off now.
All right, man.
You're school today. All right, brother. Peace, y'all. Peace, Malik. Sorry, I ended late.